Hi, my name is Megan Frommelt. How many of you speak English as your main fluent language? The majority of us. Okay. If you do, you're part of the 510 million people who speak fluent English. There are over 7 billion people in the world. That leaves 6.5 billion people who don't speak English that we can't effectively communicate with. This is a world map that just kind of gives you an idea of how many different languages there are out there. And there's kind of a lot of them on the screen, but at the bottom it says other. So there's actually a total of 6,909 languages in the world that are still spoken today. Some of them aren't spoken by that many people, but they are still out there. According to Floyd in our Communication Matters book, communication is defined by the process by which we use signs, symbols, and behaviors to exchange information and to create meaning. We should all strive to exchange information and create meaning with people other than our own. All children should be required to learn a second language to help improve worldwide communication and themselves. Anyone who has taken a foreign language course in high school or college knows that it is a lot easier said than done. Which is why children should be taught a second language at a younger age. Why? Because it is easier for children to learn a second language than it is for an adult. Children naturally acquire language if they're exposed to it on a daily basis, which is how younger kids learn languages just by, it's not like you teach your kid in school how to learn English, they just kind of pick it up as they go. Because it is natural for them, which makes it a little bit less stressful. And then adult language learning is forced and generally more unsuccessful. And then so you're probably wondering at what point does it get harder, and that is after puberty. The ability drastically decreases. So that's in between the age of 12 and 14. Okay, and then I have a video. And this video just kind of helps explain what goes on in the brain that makes it harder for adults to learn languages compared to kids.
It's well known that the brain's left hemisphere is more dominant in analytical and logical processes, while the right hemisphere is more active in emotional and social ones, though this is a matter of degree, not an absolute split. The fact that language involves both types of functions, while lateralization develops gradually with age, has led to the critical period hypothesis. According to this theory, children learn languages more easily because the plasticity of their developing brains lets them use both hemispheres in language acquisition, while in most adults, language is lateralized to one hemisphere, usually the left. If this is true, learning a language in childhood.
Okay, so that just kind of talked about the scientific reasoning, and it talked about the hypothesis on the right time to learn it, and that just says that it's actually the brain that helps them learn everything a little bit easier. Okay, so besides it being easier for children to pick up a second language, there are also a lot of cognitive benefits, which you can see listed on the screen here, kind of. According to research done comparing bilingual children to children who speak only one language, they find that they have better problem-solving skills, so math class and stuff like that. They have better critical thinking skills, so they can think more on their feet. They are a little bit more creative. They have a more flexible mind, and their memory is enhanced. They also are better at multitasking. To prove that information, there was a study done between bilingual students and students who could just learn one language, and they actually had higher standardized testing scores, the people who could speak more than one language. So that's the SAT and the ACT. It also prepares them for the future because some colleges require that you take foreign language. I know that I'm going to the University of Iowa and it requires 4 years. So if you could get a little head start on that when you're younger, it would be very beneficial. It'd make the class a lot easier. Learning a new language also opens doors that may have never been possible without the new language. Learning about other cultures opens people's eyes on what is really going on in the world. And this effect is greatly enhanced when someone takes on the biggest part of another culture, learning its language. When people learn a new language, it creates a deeper understanding for humanity and allows access to new resources, places, things, and people. And that's especially people, because it just opens the doors on how many people you can talk to and completely new people that are in a different culture that have a different language that you're now able to communicate with. Okay, so you're probably asking if there's so many reasons why we should be taught another language in our younger years, then why are we still having to learn it in high school and in college? And that is honestly completely up to whoever raises the children and then the school systems. So people say that it's too difficult and too time consuming to learn a new language, but the thing is that can be completely prevented if people just simply take it when they're younger, because then it's not as difficult and it's not as time consuming because it is actually involved in their curriculum. And overall, it's really worth all of the difficulties because, like, you're learning so many new things about a new culture. I know when I learned about, like, Spanish in my Spanish class, we also talked about their culture and how different things are, and you can learn that just by how they speak. And then another thing about that is if you look at these graphs, it shows the percentage of bilingual speakers in the world. And you can see all the percentages. The blue is bilingual and the yellow is not. And then if you look, this is the US. We only have, in 2007, we only had 19.73% of people who spoke a language other than English. So we're also really far behind all the other countries, which, speaking another language and having more intelligence about the world can only improve us. So I think that we should strive to also meet up with all the other countries around the world. Okay, so in conclusion, children should be required to learn a second language in their youth. It benefits their minds, their academics, and their future. We can start this today well, not today, but once we have our kids, we can involve them in it and we can push for it to be a part of curriculum. So it's all up to today and us, really, on how much easier worldwide communication can be. Thank you.